Hello, my name's Jeff. I've just had a nice shower. It's the time. It's 20 to 5. I've had an early day at work and I've just come back. A nice shower, lovely Hollywood shower. And for anybody who doesn't know what a Hollywood shower is, speak to a person who's been on a submarine, which isn't me. I'll read a Tom Clancy novel, right? So basically, yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking, because we've got YouTube, it's a funny angle, but that'll do. My question is, why don't we think about things, right? Why is it that we don't seem to think? The idea of people taking a subject and dissecting it and saying, why? The big question, why? Doesn't seem to happen much anymore. I'll put that there. It's me tea. I'm leaning on. This is my phone, right? As you can see, I'm not a YouTuber, right? Not one bit. Hang on a minute. Right, I'm not a YouTuber, as you can see. By the way, I'm managing this camera. God, you know what I mean? Pecking part, eat your heart out, man. So anyway, Lucas. But the thing is, we don't think. We get information, and people keep saying to me things, and I say to them, but why? And they'll say things to me about the world, about life, about this, about the other, and I say, but why? And they'll say, for instance, oh, I was watching Star Trek last night. It was really clever, that thing. They beamed me up, Scotty. And I said, oh, yeah, I mean, that's amazing. They go, oh, yeah, but that's impossible. And I say, what? The worst word in the human language, impossible. I mean, nothing, cup of tea, nothing is impossible. Right? Nothing under the sun. The word impossible is a bit of a misnomer because it suggests that something can never impossible. It can never happen. Right? Now the point is, when the Wright brothers were flying an aeroplane, at the same time in I think it was the Science Academy of France, there was a French geezer, and he was saying categorically they had proved without anything that a heavier than air, blah blah blah, was impossible. It couldn't fly. And at the time, so impossible was actually being done. Now, Oslo, in our world, we live in now it's 220. I mean, this mobile phone I'm using at the moment, it's got a level of technology. In the 70s, I worked in electronics, in printed circuit manufacture. And we were building things for military, as well as other things. But we did work for military, Marconi Space and Defence. And we got a look at, not necessarily what they were building, but the complexity of what they were building due to the circuit boards, right? Because a lot of it was somebody whistling. A lot of it was secret. You know, it was top end technology. And I look now, and I used to build printed circuits that went in, you know, submarines, spaceships, and stuff like this. You know what I mean? Prototypes, only prototypes. And I look now at what you get in the cheapest, crappiest mobile phone, and I look at it and I'm gobsmacked. I couldn't make that. Well, I was going to say if you paid me, I couldn't make it anyway. Not then, not now, not never. And these are just being bashed out by factories all over the world, almost like, you know, printing credit cards. You know, now our technology is being controlled. We know this because electric cars, for instance, when I was a kid, we had milk floats. I'm English. I lived in England, and when I was a kid, the noise you heard first thing in the morning was the milk float, because as they stopped and started, the bottles chinked, because they used glass bottles. Now, we had electric milk floats. Underneath where the milk was, you know, all the crates of milk, they were just a big stack of lead acid car batteries. Now the point is, well, car batteries, no, but lead acid batteries, right? And the result on that is those things could do a fair, reasonable mileage. Nothing spectacular, right? But we are talking, right, the 50s, right? So we're talking 70 years ago, right? Now, let's be realistic. If you believe science and history, which of course another one, you know, the way history is written, well, we know that history is written by the winners, you know what I mean? So always take history with an enormous pinch of salt, right? And do as much research as possible. But the end result is that back again, somebody at the door. So the idea of electric cars, we went, for instance, the Wright brothers at the turn of the century, the last century, they had this thing built out of bits of string and bits of cloth, and they managed to fly. Now, if we believe the mainstream history, 70 years later, people were walking on the moon, right? Now, that's a bit of a leap, isn't it? That's not bad going. It's a jump from being cavemen to angels. And it happened 70 years. That was not a lot. Now, that's if you believe it or not. I mean, that's people can put in their comments and tell me that I'm wrong, right, or indifferent. I don't care. Now, since then, we've had, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, no, 80s, 90s, 2000, another 50 years, right? Now, if you're taking, when I was a kid, in the 50s, that's 70 years ago. Now, in 70 years, a milk float has turned into a car. Now, everybody's saying, oh, wow, this is fantastic. And, you know, there's a new Jag out. Well, it might not be new. I saw it on YouTube. I don't know if it's new or not. It was on one of the, you know, Top Gear things. Anyway, the new Jag's got batteries. It's got no other means of propulsion. It's not a hybrid, which is a pretty stupid idea anyway, because, you know, you charge your batteries by running an engine, and generators are really inefficient, so you don't get a lot. You burn a litre of petrol, you only get half a litre of energy. So, you know, it might sound good, but we'll go into that into another comp chat maybe next week. So, as I say, going from a milk float that could go all around a housing estate or all around a neighbourhood and deliver, because they went for hours, you know, milkmen started about 4 in the morning and finished at about 8. So you're talking 4 hours of almost constant driving, you know what I mean? They jumped out, dropped milk, jump back in. Stopping and starting, which is when you use energy. And they worked, right? So to go from a milk float to a car that'll drive 400 miles on a charge, I mean, what are the differences? 4 wheels, bloke at the front driving, some sort of motor power, electrical engine and a battery. And to go from a milk float to a car in 70 years is, quite honestly, pathetic. Do you know, that's really, really, I mean, we as a race, the human race, we should be really ashamed that we've allowed, because this is what it comes down to, we have allowed technology to be buried and to be hidden because it interferes with certain vested interests. And I'm not saying this is bad, because as Edison said when he was producing his first CD player, Mr. Edison, in about 100 years ago, he said at the time, when somebody said, oh, when are you going to sell the CD player? He said, well, let's get rid of the record player with the wax things first. Yeah, you know, we've got to get our money back on the investment. So that does produce more investment. You know, money produces money. Money produces research. Research always produces profits. You know, everything produces profits. The only reason I'm speaking to you on a mobile phone is because the Yanks, our American cousins, went to the moon, and because they couldn't build as powerful rockets, right, enough, they miniaturized. So the Americans invented the not semiconductor, but the integrated circuit and stuff like that, because they had to. And the end result was, within a couple of years, literally we had the desktop computers, with really sad chips in them, or my computer can do hundreds of operations a second, I mean, nowadays we're talking gigahertz type of figures, you know what I mean, megahertz, gigahertz. But the end result is that science has been hidden, should I say, in almost the entire. I mean, we should be Star Trek people now, right? But we're not. And the technology that's coming out, like I say, solar research, nuclear technology. People talk about nuclear reactors are really bad. Well, if you like switching on lights, you better get used to windmills, nuclear reactors, and any other way to make electricity. Hopefully, that doesn't produce stacks of black smoke and carbon dioxide, right? Because the world, as we kind of work it out, I think, sensibly speaking, anybody nowadays who says there is no such thing as global warming either lives in a cave, you know what I mean? Because you've only got to look out the window. It's changing. The atmosphere, everything's changing. And I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, right? The idea of global warming isn't necessarily, it's the fault of everybody. I mean, I live in Spain, and they're really good at saying, it's the Americans, or it's the French, or, it's never our own fault. It's always somebody else's fault. But the point being is that, bugger, somebody at the door. Yeah, so basically, like I say, science is being hidden from us. New technology we know is around is not being used because, I mean, let's be realistic. The idea of electric cars, everybody says it's a fantastic idea. But at the moment, the amount of electric cars, in the general population, for every electric car, there's, let's say, 100. It's probably more than that, quite considerably more. 1,000 maybe, because not that many people have got electric cars. I mean, electric, not hybrids. The big question is, how do you charge the buggers? Because you've got to pump in, say you put in 100 kilowatts of electricity into your car, right? Or 50 kilowatts, that'll do. Because the thing is, most people talk about electric cars and they talk rubbish, because the old argument was, they don't go. The electric cars are no good because they can only do 100 miles on a charge. And you say, yeah, but 99% of the population who drives a car going to work does like a 20-mile round trip. They don't need 100 miles. And there's very seldom, most houses nowadays got two cars. And it's very seldom now. If I live in the southern Spain, and I live on the coast, what used to be the Costa Sol, now it's the Costa Tropical. Sounds better. Sounds good, doesn't it? Costa Tropical. If I drive to Granada and back, it's only about 50 miles each way. So 100 kilometres, and it's downhill coming back, because Granada's a mountain area. So on the way back, there's quite a substantial amount of it that's downhill. But we've got the facilities. People argue about stuff for the wrong reasons. Electric cars are rubbish because you can't do 1,000 miles on a charge. But the big question is, and we'll go into this next time, where does the electricity come from? Do you know what I mean? In Los Angeles, they have brownouts. I think they do anyway, they used to. So if everybody's plugging their cars in at night and pumping in, I mean, my electricity bill says that I use in a month about 300 kilowatts of electricity. Now I've got basically all electric. Now if I had an electric car and I was putting 50 kilowatts a night into that, right? 3 5s, that's what, it's 30 days of 500 kilowatts is 1.5 thousand, 1.5 megawatt, right? So we can forget the 300 watts I use, the 300 kilowatts I use now. That's insignificant. Just my car would up my bill, right, by essentially 50. But that bit hit me money-wise. But what would it do is, where do I get 50 times more electricity from? I mean, we've got windmills up the mountains around the village, chugging away like good ones. But I need a lot of power. Now, we're already short of electricity. So, where does it come from? So, Ryan, if anybody sees this, because probably nobody will, I've never done anything like this before, so I don't even know how to put it on the YouTube and so people know it's there. I can tell a couple of mates, I suppose. But if anybody does see this, you can give me the finger, you can tell me I'm an idiot, but press the like thing. You can press it 1 or 3 times, but don't press it twice. Apparently the algorithm on Google will accept 1, 3, 5 presses and ring them up. You know, ding, ding, ding. But if you do 2 or 4, it won't. That's a bit weird, isn't it? I don't know if it's true, but there you go. Anyway, see you next time. Leave a comment. Say what you like. Leave a comment. And if you've got anything you're interested in or you want me to argue about, or you want to argue with me and tell me I'm talking rubbish, put it in the comments, okay? All right. Well, happy whatever it is. I'll see you next week.